Hey, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Christy and I are here. And American Utopia, after a dazzling festival premiere earlier this year, makes its HBO debut this Saturday. And Christy, what is this thing?
So it plays on regular big HBO on Saturday, but then it will be available for streaming on
Yes.
HBO Max after that. I love this movie so much. This will definitely be on my top 10 list at the end of the year. This is a film version of David Byrne's American Utopia, which was a Broadway show. Spike Lee directed this, which is an interesting collaboration of experiences and different kinds of New York artistic backgrounds. And we'll get to all of that. But this is a combination of some old Talking Head songs and then some newer songs from David Byrne's solo album. And the staging of it is very reminiscent of course, the great Stop Making Sense, in that the stage is very sparse. It's just him and about a dozen or so musicians. They're all dressed in the same kind of light gray suit, and it's mostly percussion. And there's a bass player, a guitar player, a couple of dancers, a keyboardist. And it is seemingly very simple, right? They play songs, and in between, he gives little monologues about different topics, and they begin in a way that's, kind of comfortable and kind of safe about the importance of human interconnectedness. But then increasingly they become more pointed and they become more political. And he talks about climate change, and he talks about the importance of voting and immigration and police brutality. And one of the most powerful songs in the whole thing is a Janelle Monáe song that he asked her for permission to perform. I like this story a lot, that he acknowledges, like, as a white man, is it problematic for me to perform this? I was so moved by it that I would like to incorporate it in my show. And she was all for it, in which, he and his whole band around him, they're calling out the names of various people who have been killed in police shootings and more. And so it's incredibly powerful, and yet it's joyous. I'm making it sound like it's really serious and really ponderous. This movie is pure joy. If you have felt dismayed or frustrated with just the state of the world or despondent, this will make you like jump up and just be happy and want to sing and dance along. And then at the end, they all go and like they dance around the theater, and then they go around and they interact with the crowd. And so it's a thrilling film. It's also kind of melancholy because it makes you long for those days where you could have that kind of really rapturous communal experience, because there's no barrier between him and the audience. I mean, they're so close, and that's a lot of the point. What he says in one of his little monologues is, what would happen if we just stripped away everything that didn't matter? It would be us and you. And that's what the show is. Right. He sounds amazing at age 68. His voice is still amazing. And it's shot beautifully. Ellen Kouros, who was a DP on so many Spike Lee films, including Summer of Sam and Four Little Girls and Bamboozled. She also shot Neil Young, Heart of Gold for Jonathan Demme. She also shot Dave Chappelle's Block Party. And she shot Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And so it's incredibly beautiful. And what I love here is that it seems so simple and it seems so small and so intimate, but the emotion it creates is enormous. And there are so many cameras everywhere that you can really appreciate the attention to detail that has gone into the choreography and just facial expressions. Anyway, I loved it.
Oh, really? I hadn't picked that up. Ellen Kouros also shot Swoon, by the way, one of the great titles came out of the new queer cinema. This movie, there's a couple things going on here. There is sort of like David Byrne kind of figuring out a way to sort of still be David Byrne, at his age, and figuring out a way to make that as exciting and as immediate as it has been in the past. You have Spike Lee, who is capturing a theatrical performance, and he's also operating in the shadow of Stop Making Sense, which is like one of the great concert films ever made, and like figuring out how to not do just that again, but also how to not pale next to it. And I think they've both figured out they've unlocked those secrets of what it is that they're trying to accomplish here. And so, yeah, it's a lot of, it is exhilarating to watch very often. It does go from being playful to getting into the more serious content. I would even argue that it's a black and white movie in color, because so much of they're, like you said, they're all wearing the gray suits with the lighter gray shirts. The stage setting is very kind of a pale blue, but there's different lighting things going on. It reminded me of the way that Declan Quinn shot the Hamilton performances in terms of using the overhead camera and like finding ways to make something that is by definition stage bound feel more immediate and cinematic. Yeah, I think this works really well. I would love to see Spike Lee go back and do the same thing with Chris Frantz and Tina Weymouth. If we're not going to get talking heads together, then I want my talking heads separately. But yeah, it is delightful, and you're right. There is an undercurrent of melancholy just because like there is no Broadway right now. It's all shut down. Nothing is happening, and this show can't happen right now. But it did happen, and it was captured on film, and now it exists forever.
I saw an interview with David Byrne where he talked about how he was already really ready for lockdown, because when you do a show like this, it's so time consuming and so demanding that like you do the show, you wrap up late, you go home, you go to bed, you get up the next day, and eventually you leave the house and you go and do the show, and you don't meet friends for dinner, you don't have a social life. Right. So when everything happened, he was like sadly kind of ready for it. I also love, and again, this is a melancholy thing, but the notion of the simplicity of humanity that like shines through up until the absolute very end. Like over the credits, David Byrne and the whole band, like they get on their bikes and they ride around the streets of New York, which seems like a really simple thing to do, and maybe a little sweet and maybe a little corny, but it's like something like that can promote, human connection. And that's what is underlying all this. I like that someone with the tradition of David Byrne and someone with the tradition of Spike Lee are kind of getting at the same thing in different ways throughout their careers, right? They both have something to say about the state of the world, about the state of the way people regard each other. And David Byrne's has been, in kind of a post-punk new wave way, a little playful, a little off kilter, but he's always had a message for sure. Whereas Spike Lee is like in your face and he is saying it as loud and clear as possible. And that's his ethos. So to see the two of them combine to get this message out, which is now more necessary than ever, is really exciting.
Yeah, it just occurred to me that like True Stories and She's Gotta Have It probably both came out around the same time, which is when they're both of them making their feature filmmaking debut. So yeah, it is, they have these sort of parallel tracks. And I mean, like, I'm sure that Jonathan Demme probably, if not personally or professionally, was important to Spike Lee, and obviously he's the one who directed Stop Making Sense. So they do come out of the same kind of New York pool, but you wouldn't necessarily put them together or think to put them together. And it's a great combo, though.
Yeah. Anyway, I loved it. This is a thing. If you don't already have HBO Max, maybe this is a thing worth getting it for. This is one of the many movies we have seen this year where I'm like, God damn, I wish I could watch this on a screen. I want to hear it. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I want to like get up and dance in the aisles. I mean, a
theater sound system for sure. Yeah.
I'm saying 10. This is one of the best movies of the year.
Okay. I said 8.8. I liked it a lot. I will be watching it again for sure.
For sure. So 9.4 is our number. It's on HBO on Saturday, October 17th. If you have just plain old HBO, watch it, record it. If not, it's on HBO Max.
Absolutely. So yeah, thanks for watching. Check, or rather like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Lots of exciting stuff over there, exclusive to our patrons, including we are getting close to wrapping up the current seasons of The Vow and Lovecraft Country. So you don't want to miss that. Thanks for watching, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.